March 2015, Goldman Sachs reveals in their report that China is actually the most important player in Bitcoin. It's now emerged that 8 out of 10 Bitcoin trades are actually settling in yuan. Remember, Bitcoin is also part of the global monetary experiments happening. We've talked about QE1, we talked about QE2, we talked about QE3. All of these things are going on at the same exact time that all of these experiments with magical internet money that is Bitcoin happened. In China as well, at this same time, we are seeing radical accumulation of debt. Never ever before seen in history that the accumulation of debt at the same exact time during this post-financial crisis. While our governments and central banks in the West are doing quantitative easing and lowering interest rates to zero, what China was doing at the same time was basically leveraging up the country like 100-fold in the same exact time in order to rescue the global economy. They go on a massive spending spree. They build massive roads, high-speed trains. They're building all sorts of new electric capacity. And they, in fact, have built so much electric capacity over the previous 5 years that there is free energy for these miners in China to start printing money, accumulating Bitcoin. They enter the market. They're dominating the market. We in the West, of course, weren't paying much attention. So we didn't know that suddenly there's Bitmain. Suddenly they have all the ASICs. Suddenly they're kicking everybody's bottom. They are like creating the best, fastest chips on the market. And suddenly they are the ones that control all of Bitcoin. China introduces capital controls. And here is the offshore yuan rising. And green is the Bitcoin price rising. So you see Bitcoin price rising with the introduction of capital controls in China.
Well, that was totally predictable. China is the greatest area for Bitcoin trading. It's got the biggest exchange volume. And Bitcoin price is looking really good right now. We've worked through the overhang of the Mt. Gox scandal. We've got a price now that's broken out of a year trend of a kind of a choppy up and down trend, a channel that's now broken above that. And you've got around the world, people have realized that having a private blockchain like they're doing at some of these banks is not the same thing as having Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized, anonymous, whereas these private blockchains like Citicoin and other coins developed by the banks don't fit the bill. So now people are coming back to the godmama of the crypto space, Bitcoin. So it's the price is starting to pick up again. We're going to start to see some good price action.
While China is dominating in the actual accumulation of Bitcoin at this point in time, and they are definitely dominating the chip space, which is very important to mining, and miners are very important to Bitcoin. They're driving up the hash rate because they're all engaging in an arms race, this ASICs arms race going on in China. Bitmain is accumulating power and Bitcoin. By the way, they're not selling, all those miners are not selling their Bitcoin. Unlike all the miners in Eastern Europe or America who are having to pay their electric bills, there are no electric bills for China. In the meantime, in the US, there is more of this normalization of Bitcoin. And 2015 is really the attempt by many participants in Bitcoin to kind of agree with the banks, try to get Goldman Sachs, try to get JP Morgan on side, try to participate in R3, this consortium of blockchain, not Bitcoin. And we have in New York the BitLicense. June 2015, the final draft of BitLicense in New York is published. Soon after publishing this final draft of the new BitLicense law in New York, which would ultimately drive all the Bitcoin industry out of New York, Ben Lawsky, who wrote this law, then joins a cryptocurrency firm. So here we have this attempt to be the first. You remember at the time, it was BitLicense is going to bring all Bitcoin industries here, and we're going to make it blockchain, not Bitcoin, and it's going to be legitimate, and it's going to be blessed by the Wall Street regulators. This is Wall Street. The New York Department of Financial Services thinks that they're going to make Bitcoin, this blockchain, not Bitcoin, they're going to host it all in New York City. So Caitlin, you are forging the path forward for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very anti-state. It's restoring rights to the individual. But the fact is that you're being proactive. Like, it's better to go, because you know governments are going to try to create these laws, right?
Yes.
So why not just create good laws?
Well, create enabling laws instead of restricting laws. And New York, for example, created very restrictive laws that caused a number of players to leave New York. It turned out that Wyoming actually did originally have a restrictive money transmitter law. That's how I ended up getting into the Wyoming Blockchain Coalition. I tried to donate appreciated Bitcoin to my alma mater, the University of Wyoming, and they couldn't take it because of Wyoming's money transmitter law. It's very strange because Wyoming is a low regulation, small government place. And so that was such a surprise that Wyoming had one of the 3 worst money transmitter laws. So the whole thing got started with, let's go fix that. It doesn't make sense that Wyoming would be at the bottom of the list. And then the ball got rolling, and here we are.
Right, so at this time, China becomes the epicenter of Bitcoin space with the concentration of miners, and they have the cheap energy. And you also have states like New York State attempting to attract some business by introducing some legislation like the Bit License program to attract businesses. But more importantly, around the world, different jurisdictions, different countries decided, oh, you know what, we heard this is the second coming of the internet. And we kind of missed the internet, and that turned out to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry, made a lot of people tons of money. If this is the next internet, we want to be the focus of that next wave of innovation and capital formulation. So they started to reach out to the industry. So places like Malta, places like Isle of Man, places like Singapore, they all entered the space and said, come here, we'll take your entrepreneurs, we'll take the business. And so one of the promises of Bitcoin is that instead of the central authorities coming around and seizing money from individuals whenever they go bust, that central authorities would come and asking folks for money to bail them out. And if all the money is in Bitcoin, it's in crypto, and fiat money is becoming increasingly worthless, then you saw the first hints of that in 2015 when all these states started to try to bring that business to them, because they could kind of sense the future, where fiat money would not be a bargaining chip anymore. You couldn't buy anything with fiat money. You couldn't buy influence. You couldn't buy politicians. You couldn't buy your way out of a financial crisis. The people with the hard money were the people you needed to satisfy. And those people are the people with Bitcoin.